You have a big job, so just tell us what your job is.
My name is Yuping Chan. So I am the head of the Secretariat for the Rising Nations Initiative. So the Rising Nations Initiative is this project that sits within the Global Center for Climate Mobility. I have my logo up there, which is a UN-based program that looks at the intersection between climate change and movement of people. So that's the case of people who are forced to move, forced to leave their homes, have to move because of impending impacts of climate change, or in the case of the Pacific Islands, will potentially have to move and are already starting to. So we have regional programs around the world. We have a very big program in Africa called the Africa Climate Mobility Initiative. We're building up one in Greater Caribbean. We'll be doing one in the Middle East and around the world. And in the Pacific Islands, the specific project is Rising Nations Initiative, because the challenge for Pacific Islands from climate change is an existential one and a very special one, where they stand at the forefront of the climate crisis. The islands that we support, Tuvalu, Marshall Islands, and Kiribati, are Pacific atolls. So they are the ones that will essentially become submerged by rising sea level due to climate change first. They are in danger of having the entire state, the entire island, completely wiped out by the rising sea level.
Now, have you been to Tuvalu?
I actually was just there about 2.5 weeks ago.
I've never been there, but it's a beautiful island and it's already starting to see the effects of climate change. Yeah.
Exactly. So it is a tiny island halfway between Hawaii and Australia, and it's actually the least visited country in the entire world. It used to be number 2 after Nauru, but recently has now moved up to number 1. And part of the reason that it's so, rarely visited is because it's very hard to get to, and it's so small. But as a result, exactly as you said, it's beautiful. The people are amazing, but also people ignore the situation that they're in due to climate change. So Tuvalu actually is in fact, the most vulnerable country to sea level rise. It's been projected that by 2050, in about 20-ish years, the capital area of their main island, Funafuti, will experience daily flooding to almost the entirety of the land. So basically, it will not be habitable in the next 20 to 30 years. And then this is also the situation that the rest of the Pacific atolls are facing, that more and more of their islands will be completely uninhabitable, that people will have to move somewhere else, and we're not sure where that is going to be because of sea level rise. And what is even more ironic is the fact that the Pacific Islands contribute nothing to the climate crisis, but they stand at the forefront of the crisis itself.
For the audience, will you please let us know, the mile acreage or whatever and the population?
So in the case of Tuvalu, for instance, it is about 12,000 people. It consists of 8 atoll islands, and it's about, I think, 25 kilometers in terms of land. But what is interesting is that while we conceive of our countries and states as landmass, what is even bigger in the case of these Pacific Islands is maritime territory. So in the case of Tuvalu, even though the landmass is about 25 kilometers squared, the sea area is equivalent of France.
Who's governing them? What do they have their own governance?
Yes, they have their own governance.
Okay, we can ask this later, but it had to do with being in those waters and whose responsibility is to help them as we move forward. Yeah.
It's actually a member state of the United Nations. So it has its fully formed government, it has a national independence, it's a state in and of itself. But I think the question that you were alluding to is this question of, if they have such big maritime territory, how are they governing that territory? And the answer for Tuvalu in the case of many of the maritime Pacific Islands is that it is vast sea area. So they're not really monitoring the whole of it. And they do have like a small Coast Guard fleets that go around. But yes, certainly the whole area is massive.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. That's exactly what I wanted.
Do you fly there or did you go there by boat? How did you get there?
So you can fly there. There is only one flight that goes in there 2 times a week. And now they've added a 3rd flight from Fiji. And the rest of the time, the airport runway is actually used as a communal gathering spot where people play football and volleyball and so on. So it's a big event when people actually fly in on these 3 flights a week. And that's part of why it's very hard to get to.
So when you land, where do you stay? Do you stay at a hotel? And are there restaurants? And what's the culture like? Do you get a sense of the culture when you land?
So there are a few, there's a government-owned hotel, there are a couple of lodges that are privately run by families. So there are places for tourists to stay. The culture is typical sort of Polynesian, Melanesian culture, where it's a Pacific Island culture that's based a lot around the ancestors of the communities that have actually traveled across the world and have actually lived on these islands for the last thousands of years. And the culture is built around their attachment to the land. So it's very similar to what you might see in some of the other Pacific Islands. There is a very strong oral tradition, a singing culture, a culture of basket weaving, handicrafts, fishing, local knowledge that's built around the connection of the people to the lands that their ancestors and their families have lived on for many years. And that's part of the challenge of why climate change is so catastrophic for these people. They've lived on these lands for thousands of years. Their culture, their heritage, their traditions, their language is built around their connection to the land, but the land is in danger of being wiped out. So part of the projects that we're working on at the United Nations is supporting the Pacific Islands, particularly Tuvalu, look into how you can protect and preserve their culture and heritage given the imminent disappearance of its lands.
Now, some of the people there have moved to, Australia and New Zealand. Are they able to preserve their culture when they move? I imagine it's kind of culture shock to move off the island because they have a way of life there that's different than what they might find in those other places.
And so a lot of them say that that is part of the challenge because so much of the Pacific identity and the culture of Tuvalu is tied to the community that you live in. They live in multi-generational homes. They live together. They grow up together. And a lot of it's tied into these community roots and the connection that you have with other families. So when you move away, you are no longer part of that community. You try and keep up with people, of course, through Facebook Messenger and email and so forth, but you lose that sort of day-to-day connection that you have. And then the communal gatherings, the celebrations when all the families and community come together for weddings, for funerals, for social events. So that part of the culture and heritage is something that they struggle to maintain the connection to. And again, this is one of the challenges of climate change and maybe in some ways modernization as well, that even as the world develops and people move elsewhere to seek new opportunities and also because of concerns over perhaps the future of the islands, this is something that will be irrevocably lost, the connection to their culture, their heritage, and the people that they left behind. It's also quite difficult because a lot of the young men of Tuvalu also do move overseas so that they can find employment opportunities and send remittances back home to their families as well. So there is quite a distinct, when you go to Tuvalu, you can see that a lot of the young men have actually left the islands.
If there's no island, how will they preserve their culture and what will be lost? I know they're trying to develop a digital footprint, but is it possible to preserve this culture online?
So the preservation of culture and heritage is one of the things that the UN, specifically Rising Nations Initiative, is helping them to work on. So part of it is this idea of capturing it online and the creation of a digital twin in the metaverse that has been put forward by the Tuvaluan government. The other part of it is what we're looking at specifically, sort of what do we do besides this replication online, but also elements of preserving culture and heritage now. So for instance, can we build online culture and heritage repositories, gathering spots for the Tuvaluan community to come together online, ways of digitalizing existing records, taking photographs, videography, films of Tuvaluan culture and heritage, and create an online spot where that can be stored, that the Tuvaluan people both overseas and in Tuvalu can enjoy, and that can become a spot of gathering for the community itself. Something else that Rising Nations Initiative is doing, which is actually seen in the UN circles as quite revolutionary, is that we are putting forward with Tuvalu and supporting them in this effort, an opportunity for Tuvalu to be the first country that is recognized by the World Heritage Convention of UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. So that will give global recognition of Tuvaluan culture and heritage as something that should be preserved and protected for future generations because of its value to humanity, because it is under threat due to climate change. So this push within UNESCO for designation of World Heritage status for Tuvalu is the first time that a country is really going forward to the international community and saying, my culture and heritage is under threat because of climate change. And we think it's the international community's obligation to recognize this and then to take whatever efforts is necessary to support us in protecting and preserving it.
What is the messaging to the people that are living there, and particularly to the elders, and how are we talking about it to them that this may all go away, and just what those conversations are like, and have you been part of those?
It is actually quite a difficult, tricky conversation that's ongoing now in Tuvaluan society. So when we were there in Funafuti just 2 weeks ago, we were privileged to be able to organize a few conversations with elders, as you mentioned, representatives of the 8 Tuvaluan island communities, the different islands that comprise Tuvalu. So representatives of the youth groups, the women groups, as well as the elders, and have a frank conversation a little bit about what they thought of the future and the challenges. And it is very difficult because depending on who you speak to, there are different perspectives of this. Some feel that they should stay in the islands and that things will work out and that they would rather die on these islands if necessary to be part of that. And then there are others, perhaps the youth, who think that, maybe it's time to seek out new opportunities elsewhere and to leave. So I think that conversation is starting. It is a very difficult one, but what we as Rising Nations, the United Nations, are convinced of is that this is a conversation that the Tuvaluan people must have for themselves. And what we can do is to provide that supportive environment that empowers whatever choices they make around that decision. So it should not be a conversation and any decision that is taken that is forced upon them, or that they are forced to or compelled to take a certain path because they don't have any other choices, but really is the role of the international community to empower them and to support an environment that allows full agency in whatever they choose to do. So it is really a difficult conversation to have. I think they are starting to do that kind of consultation and openness, recognizing that that is what is possible and likely happen in the future, but doing this in a sensitive and culturally appropriate way. So for instance, when we were in Funafuti, the conversation that we had with the elders was conducted in Tuvalu, and we actually did not participate that much. We made it more an opportunity for them to talk to each other, to really think about these things. And I think a lot of what has to happen in engaging with impacted communities around climate change is that it cannot be us external outsiders coming in to impose a point of view or what we think they should do. But really, it is to allow them to feel empowered and to have that space to have those conversations and make those decisions themselves. Because ultimately, their lives, their stories to tell, and they are the ones who are facing that kind of impact from climate change.
On the island itself, it's starting to flood more regularly. Have they already lost land mass permanently, or is it just flooding more occasionally?
So some parts are now less habitable than they were before, and there are parts where they've shifted a little bit more inland. They had a big hurricane, I think there was a storm some years ago, which actually rendered some parts of the main island as well as the other outer islands uninhabitable. And so that's pushed the territory inward such that now when there is flooding, there is more damage to houses and properties. So not completely in the sense of like a lot of area has been lost, but they've already started feeling the effects, and there have been some that have moved as a result of that. And we have seen that the projections indicate that this is only likely to rise in the future. So for instance, when we went to Tuvalu, we actually were accompanied by scientists from NASA, the US's National Aeronautics and Space Administration, who actually did a special technical assessment at our request for Tuvalu, applying some of the reports and findings, the technology, the satellite and forecasting models to Tuvalu. And it really is quite clear that as we look further into the future, the prospects for Tuvalu are on an existential crisis scale, where really, unless we take serious action now to mitigate global warming and to change the course that we are really sort of rushing down, there will be catastrophic impact for Tuvalu and other Pacific Islands as well.
And do the people who live on the island have a sense of urgency around these issues?
I think they realize that it is coming, and there is anxiety, though they are very proud, very resilient, very dignified people. And so they are conscious of the need to begin thinking about it. But what is very clear is that there is that sense whereby if anything happens, they want to preserve that core identity as being Tuvaluan culture and heritage. And that even if there is urgency to it, like they don't want to be rushed into a situation where they have to flee as refugees or forced out of the island. So the project that we are embarking on at Rising Nations Initiative with the Global Center is to make sure that should they have to move, it will be in sovereignty and dignity, preserving Tuvaluan culture, Tuvalu as a state and as a nation, and not as 12,000 refugees that are forced to relocate in like 3 days due to a natural disaster.
I mean, it's something that's so beyond their control, as you said. I mean, these are people that are living out in, kind of this place in the middle of the ocean, are not contributing. Like you said, they're not contributing to climate change, and yet they're going to be the most affected. And I don't know how you reconcile that. How do they feel about the rest of the world? I mean, do they, it's just so it's devastating. I mean, and is there hope? Are you seeing, with NASA coming in, for example, and the conveying this urgency that Jesse asked about, not just here, but now to the rest of the UN? And I mean, we keep hearing about this, we're having devastating consequences. What's happening on ground zero, UN, the rest of the world about what we're going to do? Like, what's it going to take?
So the Pacifics actually have been raising the alarm bells on this issue for a while now. So in the UN climate change circles, they have been saying this over and over again, that they are the ones who feel the most direct impact for climate change. And if the world doesn't take urgent action, their islands will be lost, their communities will be affected, their families will be moving, and the entire social fabric of many of these communities will be lost. But the international community hasn't responded. I'm sad to say not really. For instance, it was the first time last year at the Conference of Parties in Sharm el-Sheikh that the issue of climate mobility and the impacts in the sense on culture and heritage, for instance, was recognized by the negotiating member states. So even though the Pacifics have been saying it for a while, you are right that international community has not taken urgent action to respond. And you talked about how they really have no role in causing this crisis. I was shocked to know when I started this work that the Pacifics account for less than 0.03% of global carbon emissions, and even less when we talk about historical emissions. So they have done nothing. And yet, what is it that the international community is doing now to support them in this time of urgent crisis? Not that much. And so part of the work that we're doing is to try and raise awareness of this situation and then the urgency to act. I would love it if, for instance, when we have climate change protests or demonstration or activists that go out there with signs, we also have Save Tuvalu and the Pacific Islands, for instance, right? More has to be said and known about the situation they're in. And precisely what you said, this is the human face of climate change. It is not just an esoteric, abstract concept of we need to turn on the air conditioners more, it's getting hotter here. It is people's lives, communities, and entire cultures and heritage that are at stake.
So on the island itself, are they an agrarian society? And are the crops gone? Are the property values down? Are the roads gone? What have been the effects so far?
So, for instance, rising sea level has affected infrastructure and houses. The salinity of the sea level has actually affected groundwater. So crops are no longer flourishing as much. It affects, for instance, the access to fresh water on the island. So they've had to do a lot more around importing food because crops don't grow as well, and importing water, more drinks. And so as a result, for instance, one of the impacts of climate change and changes in the environment across the Pacific is much higher levels of non-communicable diseases. So for instance, diabetes, obesity, cholesterol, all as a result of eating so much imported foods and drinking soda instead of water, because these are now much harder to get because natural crops are failing. Fish stocks have gone down. The ground is a lot saltier and so cannot grow as many coconuts and so forth. So there are already a lot of significant environmental, social, economic, and health impacts as a result of climate change. And these are all projected to go up over the next few years. So food insecurity is going to be an issue, and that will have knock-on effects on health, social, economic repercussions as well.
So when you say a digital twin, we've heard this expression digital twin quite a bit, but this is an innovative idea. Has it been tested that you can put a whole culture online, or is this a new idea that we're just testing out with these guys?
So with the digital twin idea, I think what was proposed by the Tuvalu government, specifically the Minister of Foreign Affairs, was this idea that it wouldn't just be culture, but it would be sort of the replication of the entire Tuvaluan island in a metaverse, so that you could go there and sort of see Tuvalu in virtual reality. I think that's a process, conversations are still ongoing. But in terms of culture and heritage, I think what we're also looking to do via the Rising Nations Initiative is to support them in very concrete ways. So while the work ongoing towards perhaps the broader idea of the metaverse continues, specific concrete aspects, such as, like I said, digitalizing the archives and the culture, putting videos, making a community gathering spot online, which can be a source of culture and heritage and gathering for the Tuvaluan community. Something that I think you might be interested in, Jesse, given that you've actually worked with Chris Fabian from the Giga Initiative, and then that is actually the International Telecommunications Union and UNICEF initiative to connect all schools to the internet by 2030. That is founded on the fundamental belief that connectivity and access to the internet is the foundation of access, opportunities, and leveraging the potential of digital technologies. And in Tuvalu, for instance, internet connectivity is actually not easy at all. It's expensive, not really affordable, and very intermittent. So part of, I think, working towards the aspiration of having a digital twin is also making sure that there is universal, meaningful connectivity in terms of affordability, digital skills, access to all parts of the population, making sure that there are educational opportunities for children and youth that also take advantage of the digital online space. So that's part of the work that we are also trying to support them on.
So it's 10,000 people. I'm sure they have an elected president, and are there a bunch of different states there? You can't just move 10,000 people to Australia that's a sovereign nation. So how, if they're going to make a plan? I've never heard of a plan like this where it's like, well, we all have to move. And I've seen stuff like that on Star Trek, but what are we really thinking? Because there's not another uninhabited island somewhere else, or is there, that doesn't have sovereignty in it that some country is willing to give up? So how do we think about 10,000?
Yeah, that's not drowning also.
I'll start with the easy question, Jesse. Like, what kind of government structure do they have? So they are actually a former colony, and so they actually follow the British Westminster democracy system. They have a prime minister, and they have members of parliament that represent the individual islands that make up Tuvalu, and then from that, they form a government. So what they do have, instead of states, is they have different islands that comprise Tuvalu. And actually, these islands are actually quite hard to get to. So even Funafuti, the capital island, where most of the population resides, is already very challenging to get to. And then in order to get to the outer islands, Vaitupu, Nanumea, and the rest of them, you have to take a boat ride of usually like either 6 hours to 2 days. So you can imagine the challenges in sort of connection and connectivity there as well. So each island then elects their own representatives to the parliament, and together they constitute the Parliament of Tuvalu and the cabinet itself. And so that question about what happens next for the people is something that they're starting to think about. Like, what are the options should there not be a possibility of remaining on these islands? And they're taking a lot of steps to try and stretch out the habitability of the atolls, right? They have a long-term adaptation plan where they are hoping to be able to reclaim enough land and shift the main sites of the government, like the airport runway and so on, inland, so that they can live longer on these islands itself. But then, as you point out, what is the plan B? Assuming that this does not work and the people have to move, where else can they go? I think, as you said, it is not that clear that the only option is for them to move somewhere else and take over somebody else's territory. I think we're starting that conversation with them to look at other models of possible movement that allow them, as I've said before, to move in sovereignty and dignity. So for instance, one example, the Marshall Islands has a freedom of association treaty with the United States, where the Marshallese preserve their Marshall Island citizenship, but have the ability to move to the United States. So that could be, again, another model that the Tuvaluans consider, some kind of legal association or treaty agreement with a country that will allow their people to move somewhere else, but fundamentally remain citizens of another country. And remember what I told you from the start, that it doesn't necessarily have to be explained by land territory, right? So even if the physical land is submerged under the sea level, the maritime territory itself remains. So technically, the maritime territory of Tuvalu could still exist, separate from the people physically being located somewhere else. I give you another sort of hypothetical. And this is actually where the case of Tuvalu is actually very interesting. In international law, the definition of statehood is described by 4 characteristics: territory, government, people, and the ability to conduct diplomatic relations. And in international law and sort of history so far, we've assumed that all these 4 things need to occur in the same physical location, the same sort of vertical at the same time. But the case of Tuvalu could be a situation in which the territory exists, the people are physically somewhere else. The government could be with the people, but also exist online or virtually because it is connected to government services, digital ID, digital citizenship that we see a lot of countries experimenting with. And the ability to conduct diplomatic relations remains because it is still a member of the United Nations. So in that case, Tuvalu remains a state. It's just a state that is not what we typically assume international law. Well, not even international law, because it actually is somewhat silent on this so far. International relations so far has assumed a state to be.
That would require dual citizenship. And then you see that in certain situations like the right to return.
Mm-hmm.
But what would it mean in the case where you could never return?
Again, you can't rule out the fact that they could never return. So for instance, they could never return to certain parts, but there might be the prospect of returning to other smaller islands as part of Tuvalu. So
Right.
It is kind of an interesting sort of hypothetical case now, where what we're trying to do is to create that conversation that precisely will address questions that you said, like what if they never can return? Can science and technology reach the point where they can physically return at some point? But even if it can't, have we set up enough legal and international processes in place that even where they stay somewhere else, they are still recognized as Tuvaluans because they have dual citizenship? So the dual citizenship that you've raised is actually predicated on the assumption that Tuvaluan citizenship, Tuvalu as a state, is still recognized by international law in the absence of physical land territory. Let me clarify that.
So it becomes very complicated because it's like, well, where do they pay their taxes? Like questions like that'll become increasingly more complicated. So sea rise, I don't know what it is there. What my understanding is, if you have sea rise and it's about a foot, that's a dealable problem. But if it becomes 7 or 8 feet, it becomes sort of untenable really fast. Where are we in this process that, in Tuvalu specifically?
So even a rise of 1 foot would still be very damaging because a lot of their parts of the island are actually very low lying. So for instance, the maximum elevation of Tuvalu is 1.9 meters. And that's not a lot at all. That's something like 6-7 feet, if I'm not wrong. And so like even a 1 foot sea level rise already renders a lot of the capital area flooded. And the problem is not just the regular sea level rise, it's the fact that it raises the preponderance of king tides and coastal flooding. So for instance, in the time of the storms and the monsoons, when there are greater storms and hurricane seasons, the sea level and tides will go up such that it's not the average, but those times when there's high level of flooding that will go all over the island. There are parts of the atoll where it is only 400 meters across. Because it's so flat, any amount of sea level rise will actually render it impassable, and you're cutting off parts of the island. There are houses that are already close to the edge of the water will also become completely flooded as well. So any like sea level rise like that we think is small will still have very serious impact on Tuvalu and the other Pacific atolls.
While you were there and when you weren't working, what were you doing and who did you meet, and what were the people like, and did they take you around? What did you do?
The people were amazing. And I think that's part of why we are so committed to trying our best to see what we can do to help them and to really ask the international community to pay attention, to care. The people welcomed us to their homes. We went to weddings. We were adopted by a Tuvaluan family that organized dinners for us. We sang karaoke and danced with them.
What kind of food did you have?
So they do a mixture of fresh fish, raw fish, as well as fried foods as well. They do a lot of dishes from the local plants. So like the tubers and the plants that they grow, a lot of things with, for instance, coconut and native tuber plant life. And it was very good. We ate quite a lot. And that was part of the very welcoming nature of Pacific culture, and Tuvaluans in particular. On the day that we left, all our friends that we had met over the last 10 days came to see us off, to give us gifts of shell necklaces, fans, feathers, local handicraft. And it was really very moving to see how much they had taken us to their heart. And I think it's partly because they appreciated the fact that we had taken the time to come to Tuvalu to understand the situation that they're in, to really respect and venerate their traditions and their culture, and to really try and find a way to elevate their message to the rest of the world. They are very proud, beautiful, gracious people. And really, it is time that the international community recognize that the consequences of our actions, and now even what's our inaction in the face of climate crisis, has such serious impact on these people.
What language did you speak? I mean, were they speaking their native language, or what else? What other
They
language?
speak English very well. Again, I think because of the British Commonwealth tradition, English is something that is taught in schools, and they speak English. There's also Tuvaluan, and interestingly enough, one of the islands has a separate language called Nui. So that's part of like the culture and heritage again, that their own islands have like slightly different ways of speaking, but they all can converse in English.
Yeah, well, it's really a perplexing problem, and they're on the forefront of what is bound to be a discussion, in every country, in every city across the world, because
Yeah.
we see the climate change happening everywhere now. Storms are getting bigger. It's a troubling time for sure,
Do you think that I think you were talking about trying to make them a UNESCO cultural heritage site, right?
Mhm.
And that hopefully will at least put more attention to them, right? So
Yes.
what are some of the other things? And also I was curious, like NASA came in and said, okay, wow, existential crisis, because they're doing projections, but is there anything? I mean, I'm always looking for the optimistic. I think
Yeah.
Jess is too. What could be done? I mean, is there anything that could be done leveraging, building, even in the United States, wealthy people are looking, well, let's rise up our homes or whatever. What can be done at this point, if anything, to help them, and what can they be doing so that they don't have to leave, and I mean, what are you thinking about that?
I think for a start, people should know where Tuvalu is and care about it enough to then ask the next question that you're asking. What can we do to help? So I don't think there's enough awareness about the situation of the Pacific Atolls. A lot of times when I try to explain what my work is about, I start off by saying, do you know what Tuvalu is? And 50%, no, actually 75% of the time, I will have to explain it. It's a small island in the Pacific that's at the front line of the climate change crisis. So awareness, I think, is very important. In terms of supporting them, I think part of that is also empowering the Tuvaluan people to also tell that story and making sure that it's not seen as us telling the story for them. So even now, for instance, I'm slightly embarrassed that I'm talking about it, and that maybe next time in the future you could also consider having a Tuvaluan speak about it.
Yeah.
Where, for instance, we have amazing Tuvaluan and Pacific Island youth who we are helping to build capacity with, like training them and giving opportunities to become spokespeople for the climate crisis and really tell their own story from that perspective of somebody who's living in the islands west to confront this threat. So we've been building through Rising Nations a youth program where we've had Rising Nations youth delegates come with us to the COP. We are increasing, opportunities for them to speak internationally as well. One of ours actually was featured at the recent Global Citizen Rock concert in Paris via video, and we were very excited for that because it is now Tuvaluans telling their story and us all recognizing that it is their story and they are the face of this crisis that we really need to engage with and work with to make sure that they get the support that is so urgently required. So in terms of that, like being supportive and then looking at areas where we ourselves can make changes. So I think holding governments the commitments that they've made in terms of climate change is particularly important. So it's pretty much been projected in a lot of the UN processes that we're going to see levels of rising temperatures that will be beyond what has already been promised. And if we do not hold countries urgently to the commitments, this is only going to go up. And then again, the catastrophic impact will be experienced by the Pacific Islands first. And then the other low-lying countries who also are facing sea level rise and also have to deal with this in very adverse ways. So even in Africa, for instance, sea level rise is causing concerns. The impacts of climate change on food security, migration patterns, drought, famine are quite catastrophic for a lot of the developing countries around the world. So I think sort of holding developed country governments to accountability, to ask them not just to make sure that they hold their emissions rates at what is promised or go beyond, but also to really think about how then they can address questions around loss and damage, for instance, support more adaptation measures in developing countries such that they can address a lot of these challenges through greater support, international support, financing, for their works that they're doing as well. In terms of things that we're building out, so we are consciously looking at culture and heritage. We think that this is a place where, for instance, interested museum communities, artists, researchers, cultural anthropologists, universities could really partner with us to see how we can support Pacific Islands in preserving culture and heritage. Financially speaking, this is actually going to be quite a large enterprise because it's not going to just be Tuvalu, it's going to be a lot of island communities at risk as well. We're also looking at how we can use international processes, not just UNESCO, but also climate change discussions to really push forward the issue of the Pacific Atolls. And a lot of the impetus for action in all these boring UN forums will come from civil society and concerned members of the public telling their governments, we want you to take a stronger stand in these international processes in support of Pacific Islands and against climate change. So that general activism, I think, is very important to try and get national governments to do something.
It always strikes me, though, that the thing that I feel like countries are missing, or government heads are missing, is like this kind of crisis that will be a refugee crisis ultimately is going to impact your own country and make it worse. It's so I don't know why that tag, maybe people do take that line of, kind of thinking in terms of how to galvanize, because nobody's going to be able to sustain having millions of people coming into any country. People have enough problems kind of feeding and taking care of their own people within their own purview. There will be wars due to climate crisis, or there won't be water. And so it's going to create extreme conditions. And why can't sort of government and states say, can't they see that? So they start to do their part. In other words, yes, we want people to move around freely, but when it's out of people's choices and they have to go somewhere, I think that's an important part of the story, no?
It's part of what we're building at the Global Center for Climate Mobility. And you'll notice that our name is climate mobility, not climate migration, precisely to address that sort of knee-jerk, slightly xenophobic reaction that you're alluding to, Priscilla, where we want developed countries to recognize that movement of people due to climate is not necessarily a threat, and it actually is an opportunity. So if we facilitate mobility in ways that generate economic opportunity, that increases connectivity between the people that are moving and the community fabrics, it can be a source of opportunity, not just for developed countries, but in developing countries as well. So for instance, if you strengthen the capacity of African governments to address mobility within their countries due to climate change, to create more opportunities, for instance, economically speaking, jobs, more stable social infrastructure in their cities, the movement of people due to climate change will be within their own borders, not necessarily overseas as well. So how do we harness climate mobility, movement of people in a positive manner, and not necessarily see as a threat, as a challenge? And in the same way, in the Pacific region, how do we strengthen that social resilience and capacity of the people to be empowered to make their own choices? And again, exactly as you said, not address it as a threat or as a refugee situation, but as a proactive, positive approach that is founded in economic development, sustainable development, and livelihoods and opportunities for people.
I have one question. Why are you so passionate? Why are you doing this work? Because you are unbelievably, passionate
Thank
and
you.
great work. So what brings you to the work?
So I'm actually Singaporean. I actually was a former Singaporean diplomat. I served in my foreign service, and after that, I joined the United Nations Secretariat. I've worked in the Secretariat of the UN in many different roles. And you can say in some ways, what drew me to this project was the feeling that I really wanted to go back to trying to make a difference in a small, well, not small, in a concrete sense. Because I know a lot of the criticism around the United Nations that we talk a lot, right? And things don't happen. And look at climate change as one of the foremost examples of how we talk a lot and nothing happens. So I felt, if I want to make a change, let's go back to a place where I can try my best to impact the lives of people who are, again, through no fault of their own, standing at the forefront of this crisis. And so even if I manage to convince the two of you, one person out there to care about the situation and try and do something, then I've actually made some positive impact. So in some ways, it was a little bit of let's return to the roots of why I decided to become a public servant and see whether I can serve the common good. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you
wonderful.
so much. You are doing incredible work, and everybody
Yeah.
will watch this. It's really important, and we just keep talking about it, and
Yeah.
we'll do our best as well.
Thank
Yeah.
you.